during the time that Rabin was ambassador in Washington. As we mentioned, he didn't want to learn English as a kid, so his English actually was pretty poor, and he insisted that he wanted to be the ambassador to DC, and eventually they let him do it, and he does an incredible job, and he's able to forge these relationships with the United States that ends up really helping him later on, connecting with the American government and with the Egyptian government in order to make peace with Egypt in 1979 and 1980. So it's interesting that all really sets up the peace that Menachem Begin, in a way, gets all the credit for with Menachem Begin and Sadat. But already as ambassador for Israel in America, Rabin was setting the stage for peace with Egypt, which was the greatest enemy that Israel faced at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't natural for him to be the ambassador in Washington. And I think that goes to kind of like what was so special about the Israeli image that Yitzhak Rabin presented. A lot of the times they talk about it as he became the career soldier. He wasn't sure if he wanted to be a soldier, if he wanted to be a farmer, but he went where Israel needed him. You know, obviously he's not that natural born diplomat. He's not the rhetorical speaker that Shimon Peres is or that Bibi Netanyahu is. He does work. And I think what he realized was he needed to be the guy in the US, even if it wasn't easy for him. And that's something that you can see throughout his career. Like, I wonder if he wanted to be a politician or if he just did it because he knew that he needed to. And I think that's something that you see even when he's the prime minister, which is something that I know today we can't even imagine. But shortly after he became prime minister and after he had successes, he continued with his diplomacy with Egypt. And he was responsible for Operation Yonatan, where the IDF rescued, like over 100 hostages from Uganda and brought them back on one of the most astounding military missions of all time. And after all of that, it came out that his wife still had an American bank account open from the time when they were in the US. I remember it being a small amount, but we were just looking on Wikipedia and it looks like it was like $10,000. And the second that his name was connected to a scandal, he stepped down from the prime ministership because he didn't want it to bother, like he didn't want it to take attention away from his work as the leader of Israel. Can you imagine that? A leader of Israel stepping down because he didn't want to distract from what's going on. It's hard to imagine that living in the background that we're living in today.
I think $10,000 is the same amount that Sarah Netanyahu spends on pistachio ice cream every year or something like that. But that's besides the point.
I feel like back in the day, we thought that was the way a prime minister should be. But like, we're not there anymore. We're very far away. And, you know, it takes days like today and remembering people like him to remember what politicians can really be.